Homage to the Triple Gem. So there's a famous quote from the great teacher Ajahn Chah, which is that if you feel like meditating, meditate, and if you don't feel like meditating, meditate. So no matter what the feeling is inside the mind, you should go and meditate. Initially, when people start to practice meditation, it's sometimes relatively easy. It's easy in part because of the novelty of the meditation, easy in part because of the novelty of Buddhism, and easy also in part because people often don't have many expectations about what they're going to gain. So they have this kind of attitude that allows them to renounce. They don't have necessarily a strong sense of what they're going to do in the future, strong ideas about how they're going to proceed. And so they have a kind of an opening, a space in the mind. Part of what tends to cloud the mind, to cover it over, to block it, is actually what we might call attachment to things in the future, a kind of an attachment to an idea of how one wants to move forward in the future, what one's kind of plan is, how it should be laid out, and attachment to various things in the external world, like kind of success or career or relationship, whatever it might be. These kind of things are like trees that get planted in the mind, and those trees, depending on how big they are, how one waters them, they can grow quite large and cast a lot of shade. So if the land in the mind is kind of shadowed by a lot of trees, it can be difficult to plant seeds of meditation. So for that reason, some people, when they come to meditation, it's often through suffering in the West. It's not usually for a cultural reason. Most convert Buddhists are by definition not born Buddhists. There might be some more cultural cachet to Buddhism now, but it's not really an exalted, necessarily like an exalted thing to do to be a practicing Buddhist. Not something that's going to raise your socioeconomic status or anything like this. So usually what drives people, what motivates them, is suffering. And sometimes the suffering that motivates people to begin meditation can be relatively intense, and kind of such that they don't see what's in front of them, kind of no future that they can really envisage without some sort of suffering in it. So, well, of course, that kind of mind state is unwholesome. What it can do is make the mind clear so that this seed that gets planted of meditation has a chance to grow, has a chance to bear fruit. And sometimes when one is first begun meditating, then the results that come in meditation for that reason can seem to come quicker, can seem to be more interesting. That's for the novelty. But meditation can seem something easier. So people want to meditate. They have this suffering. Sometimes they don't even have a choice. If they don't meditate, then they suffer. So they have to meditate. So at those times, it's not so hard to motivate oneself. So when meditation is new, when new things are happening in one's practice, when one's suffering that one had been experiencing for so long is getting diminished, then motivating oneself to practice isn't necessarily so hard, and it can seem like the most amazing thing in the world, and the Dhamma is the most amazing thing in the world. As a person continues practicing for month after month, year after year, whatever it might be, then over time, sometimes those benefits can seem to diminish. It's not necessarily, in some cases it can be that the benefit itself is diminished, and in other cases it can be that people get used to a certain ease in their mind that they just forgot what it was like before. Their mental level of ease has been raised, and they've kind of become accustomed to that, and so it's not really an exciting thing anymore. And perhaps as well, the amount that they can renounce or are willing to renounce has limits on it because of some personal responsibilities and these kind of things. So for that reason, over the years, over time, it can start to become less exciting to meditate. It can be something that the mind doesn't necessarily leap up at. Maybe it becomes a little bit routine, and then maybe things that are not routine start to seem more appealing. This can especially be the case if one encounters difficulties related to meditating after a number of years. Some issues with the knees or so, kind of knee surgeries can actually be quite common for monks, at least. I don't know about lay practitioners, but if somebody goes on a lot of retreats, maybe you need a knee surgery. And these things can kind of accumulate in the mind until the benefit of doing the next meditation doesn't seem to have the same pizzazz that it used to. It doesn't seem to have the same draw or the same allure. The key thing, as Ajahn Chah mentioned in these cases, is to continue practicing, keep pushing forward. But it's also to look at the mind state of what makes it seem that progress is stalled. What is it that a person is actually doing? What's the cause of the feeling of being stalled in one's progress? And there's a few different places that one can look. One can look to how one's meditating, and kind of, if one has just been doing the same thing over and over again, same meditation technique, same thing, same way of watching the breath, same way of doing metta all the time, then it may be the case that the defilements that it was able to easily push away have been pushed away from doing it in that way, and the ones that are able to resist it are remaining. So in that case, one can try to approach the topic from different angles to see if it has any effect in reducing the kind of the suffering that one is experiencing from these negative qualities in the mind, and seeing if it's reducing the negative quality in the mind itself. So if one changes these things up in some ways, that can help to freshen the mind. Another thing is that sometimes people will have things that they should renounce, things that they should renounce, they feel that they should renounce, but they're kind of unwilling to renounce them. Just get a little bit adjusted. So for example, some people, when they first start meditating, as mentioned, it's all this suffering is happening. And so they're willing to give things up. But as time goes on, their meditation, the psychological benefits that they wanted to get from it are already there. So, maybe their relationships improve, maybe they've got more discipline. All those things are already there. And they start making plans in the future based on those things. Usually plans relating to sensual pleasure, plans relating to accumulating more worldly things. And this intention in and of itself can block the meditation, can block one's progress. It's like having these really big trees come back and grow back up in the mind and cast a lot of shade, so that the seeds that one plants with meditation don't have as much opportunity to grow. So what one can do in that case is to really evaluate, like, how much do I want to progress in meditation? Is this something that I really want to move forward with? And then evaluate what things is it that I'm doing that are blocking my progress? How is it that that the way I'm thinking about my future, that the way I'm consuming things, is blocking whatever potential I might have to move forward? And sometimes it can actually be the case that the very reasons that one started to meditate and kind of get better at the job, or whatever it might be, become more social, or be able to work longer hours, or I'm not sure what reasons people do nowadays, but in my day when I first started meditating, performance enhancement was part of the appeal of meditation. So actually this kind of attachment to working longer hours, or whatever it might be, that attitude, that idea in and of itself might actually become a block to meditation, although it was originally a motivating factor. So one might actually want to try to see what happens in the mind if one puts the idea in there, well, I'm going to scale this back a bit and devote more time to my practice. See what happens. Is there an opening in the mind? Does the mind open up? Does it become something that's more at ease, more peaceful? Another thing that one can do is to try to look at the attitude in the mind itself as a source of defilement, this kind of negative attitude or bored attitude. It can come from restlessness. It can basically just be that one, as I mentioned, has just become used to the relative peace, the relative calm that's come from this change in lifestyle. It's become a normal thing, and one has forgotten what it was like before. When one hadn't been meditating, when one had just been kind of swept away by the world, one forgot about all the pains that were there, all the distresses that were there. And meditation has just become just another habit, just something normal to do. So in this case, one wants to look at the attitude behind that. Like, is this really the case? Is this really the case that I've lost all these benefits? And is it really the case that the benefits that I imagined that I had back then were as appealing as they were? So sometimes one might find this. One kind of goes forward in meditation, is practicing renunciation. This can actually happen to monks. And then they, start to miss certain aspects of lay life. They go back to lay life, and then, they forgot all the stress, all the trouble that came along with, with having those things, with having a job or having a partner, having all these various things. And they forgot about the benefits that they gotten from their meditation, when their meditation was able to progress without being hindered by various attachments. They forgot about the peace of mind that they had. They forgot about the ease, start to worry more about their face, more about their clothes, get stressed out about these things, and it wasn't an issue for them before. So it's good to take stock of the benefits that one's gained in one's meditation practice in this way, kind of remembering what it was like before one came to meditation and remembering what it's like now. But actually being kind of stalled in one's meditation is a kind of issue. It's not good to, just be treading water or just spinning the wheels. One should be growing in wholesome states. One should be moving forward in wholesome states. But one of the last things is that if one tries various approaches and one can't figure a way out to move forward, then one just sometimes has to endure. It's kind of put up with the feeling and keep searching, keep probing, keep looking for an opening, with the assumption that so long as one doesn't give up, then there will be an opportunity. There will be something that can open up. One can find the solution, find the answer to to the problems that are plaguing one in one's practice, the problems that are slowing one down, to the problems that are making one become stuck. So many of the stories of great figures, both in religious life and in normal lay life, they become great after failing many times and sometimes going through extreme difficulties. So greatness here in our meditation practice doesn't mean necessarily being like the most famous person or the most well-respected or the biggest name at the retreat. What it means is making genuine progress in reducing our suffering, kind of becoming more independent of the suffering that's caused by the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. So to achieve that kind of greatness, one basically can't give up. The Buddha said, if a person were to be stabbed by 100 spears in the morning, 100 spears in the evening, and 100 spears in the spears in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, and that were to happen every day of his life with a lifespan of 100 years, but he were guaranteed to become an arahant at the end of that, then it would be a good deal. The happiness that he would get from arahantship at the end of all that pain would be well worth it. So the goal that the Buddha set for us is nothing normal. And the benefits that we get from meditation are nothing normal. The problem that can happen is often with craving. Craving normalizes things that are good and seeks things that we don't have, elevates them to a higher status than they're actually worth because of their novelty. So one has to train one's mind in such a way that one can recognize the benefits that one's gained from meditation, but also that one doesn't stop probing. One keeps looking for solutions. Where is there a solution? And this is where these really inspiring stories come from. They come from the people in the monastic life, people in lay life who just didn't quit. If they quit, then their story wouldn't be so inspiring. But it is inspiring because they were able to overcome sometimes immense obstacles and then gain the goal that they were wishing for. So anybody who practices can assume that this is just a principle that applies to them as well. And just kind of patient endurance. If we don't quit, if we keep trying to find a solution, then there is a solution. And it's something that we can access. It's something that one can realize. So at the time of the Buddha, people from all walks of life, all ages, basically all backgrounds more or less, attained Nibbana, attained the path and fruits. And when we read about how they attained the paths and fruits and the sincerity with which some of these monks practice and some of the way that the lay people dedicate themselves, it's extremely impressive. And so the Dhamma is said to be a kaliko, it's timeless. So long as one puts the causes into place, there's nothing that can stop a person from getting the results. It's not a God who chooses who gets the results. It's not a king. It's not a spiritual teacher. It's the causes that one puts into place that give the results. And so long as we keep searching for the right causes, the results, it's inevitable that they'll come. It's inevitable that we'll get what we're hoping for. So if meditation is plateaued, then it's good to keep going. If one feels like meditating, then one should meditate. If one doesn't feel like meditating, then one should meditate. But one should try to find a solution to whatever problems exist there, to find this greater peace that lies beyond.